Hello, so today we are going to complete another essay in 500 series, that is essay 501. And 501 is again about audit evidences. You see what? In essay 500, what we learn the basic concepts regarding audit evidences. That is, what are the methods to collect audit evidences? Like, we had made one mnemonic, ICAI, observation and re-performance, and when evidences can be said to be reliable, and when auditor is supposed to use the work of management expert, and how would he evaluate the work of management expert as an evidence, as an audit evidence, you can say, and what could be the methods to obtain sufficient and appropriate evidences. Now, going further, it can be told as an extension of essay 501, as in it tells us about what should be the audit evidences regarding three kind of special items which are called as selected items in this particular case. So this essay specifies, this essay contains guidelines to be followed by the auditor regarding three items. And the number one item over here is inventory. That is, what are the specific considerations, obviously in addition to essay 500. Essay 501 with respect to inventory doesn't mean that auditor need not consider essay 500. You see, essay 500 is a basic standard. You have to follow essay 500 for each and every item like that. However, in essay 501, it tells us what are the specific considerations, obviously in addition to those contained in essay 500, which are to be considered by an auditor for these three selected items, namely, one is inventory, second is identification of litigation and claims, I would come over there, and third is segment information. So basically, this particular essay, you can say that we are going to divide this particular essay in three parts, because every part is different from one another. You see, inventory is different. The audit consideration is specific consideration which auditor has to apply, which auditor shall apply regarding inventories at client side are different than those which he is going to apply regarding litigation and claims, identification of litigation and claims actually. And then these specific considerations are different than what auditor is going to apply for segment information. And as you can see, I have made this particular file as per my needs because I'm going to write down over here. So I have already kept some gap in between. You see, in your books, you are getting the matter as it is. However, I have made this file as per my needs as usual. You might be aware by now, right? So now what we are going to do? First of all, we are going to understand why exactly in this particular essay ICAI has made provisions regarding inventories. So what are the specific considerations that as an auditor you have to apply when inventory is material for the client? Now, when inventory is material and when it is not. So coming to the point, as usual, just to save some time, what I have done is I have just written some examples, and then I'm going to ask you, you are going to think upon them, and then you are going to answer me. All right? So let's start with the inventory part. So what is essay 501? Essay 501 tells us about the audit evidences. What are the specific considerations regarding audit evidences for these three items? And these three items are not termed as selected items in this particular case. This essay 501, we can say that essay 501 has three parts, has three different parts altogether. One is inventory, one is identification of litigation and claims, and the last one is segment information. So it tells us about the auditor's procedures to obtain sufficient and appropriate evidences regarding these three items. So this essay, whether this essay is self-contained regarding inventory? No. Whether this essay is self-contained regarding the other two items as well? No. This essay is to be read in addition to essay 500, as in essay 500, it specifies the basic rules, guidelines, basic methods you can say, and the basic rules regarding the reliabilities you can say, the auditor's extended procedures in case of inconsistencies, and how would auditor evaluate the work of management's expert. So that is a generalized standard on auditing. Essay 500 is a generalized standard on auditing. What you are going to do is you are going to apply essay 501 in addition to essay 500 when there is reference about inventories or identification of litigation claims or segment information. You know, these three items in essay 501. So coming to the very first point, and please believe me, this first part is something really important from examination point of view, as in people used to ask case studies, or they may ask you any case study based MCQ on this particular point. And then there are, different situations. There are different situations like, there are different situations. This is situation number 1 regarding inventory. Then there is situation number 2 regarding inventory. Then there is situation number 3 regarding inventory. And then there is situation number 4. So basically there are different situations, and case can be made, case can be framed on any of the situation. So there is a need for you people to understand what is the difference, among all these situations regarding inventory. So let's start. Okay, so our target is like, within 30 minutes to 40 minutes, we should complete at least inventory part. Okay, now, when inventory is material. Now, the very first point, when inventory is material. Okay, so when this essay says that when inventory is material, then auditor shall obtain sufficient and appropriate evidence with respect to these things, meaning thereby, if inventory is not material, then you need not apply the procedures to obtain evidences which are enlisted in this essay. So, can it be the case that inventory is actually not material at client side? Let's understand with the help of one example. Suppose there is one chartered accountant Anant Kumar. Alright, now Anant Kumar has been appointed to conduct audit of a client who is a service rendering entity. Ma'am, what kind of service rendering entity? It could be a lawyer's firm, it could be an engineer's firm. They people do render services. It can be a coaching institution. Alright, now, so basically see, Anant Kumar has been appointed as auditor of a service rendering entity. Say for example, it is a coaching institution. It is a coaching institution, and please believe me, they don't sell books. Here you can take example of my classes as well. Alright, we do sell classes. With the classes, we do provide books. However, we don't sell books as such. Books are sold by the publication house. Is that okay? The publishers, basically. Now, the thing is, Anant Kumar has been appointed to conduct audit of any entity who is rendering services. The client is rendering services. The client is teaching the students. However, they are not selling their study material. They are not selling their books, etc. Now, tell me, will there be some inventory? Please try to understand. Please differentiate between a coaching institution and differentiate between a coaching institution and a publisher. Suppose you might have gone to school. Obviously, I shouldn't actually ask this thing. Okay, let's take one example. Suppose my daughter takes classes for mathematics. Takes classes means she seeks some coaching for maths classes. Okay, so she is a student and the teacher actually teaches her, let's suppose, teacher actually teaches her from the book that she is possessing. And suppose she is having the book, NCERT book is there, then whatsoever books are there, R.S. Agarwal and R.D. Sharma, I guess. Alright, so there are so many. I'm talking about 11th and 12th CBSE board, you can say. So suppose my daughter is attending coaching classes, and in that coaching classes, she is supposed to take her books and the teacher teaches the concepts to her. Now in this particular case, what this particular coaching institution or what the teacher is selling, there is only involvement of services. You know, the teacher is not selling the books. She is supposed to buy NCERT book. She is supposed to buy the mathematics ka book from the market, and then teacher only instructs her. Alright, and then suppose, let's suppose, like, oh my god, I mean, because I know how much I paid for her board, you know, classes. So let's suppose the teacher charges 500 rupees for one class. Let's suppose it could be 500, it could be 600, it could be even 1000, right? So now the thing is, the teacher, the revenue the teacher is getting, that is only for the services, and teacher is not selling any kind of inventory. Now tell me, and the teacher is having huge revenue, you know, having huge turnover, you can say. Now please tell me, is there, and CA Anant Kumar is expected to perform audit of such an entity which provides coaching to the students on mathematics, on accountancy, on BST and on economics to 11th and 12th class students, let's suppose. Now please tell me whether this particular coaching institution is dealing in any kind of inventory. No, students are supposed to take their NCERT books or whatsoever, you know, teachers' books are there. Like for accountancy, they people might have been referring to Grewal's accountancy. I guess that is quite okay. So the thing, because you people must have also been like, or might have been from accounts stream, at least in CA. So the thing is, this coaching institution is not at all dealing in inventories. So is there any kind of inventory that Auditor Anant Kumar is supposed to apply on inventory? No, there is no inventory, and thus SA 501 pertaining to inventory is not applicable in this particular case, because either there is no inventory at client side or inventory is not material. One by one, I would take up at least 4 to 5 to 6 examples. Don't worry, as usual. Okay, so please tell me. CA Anant Kumar has been appointed to conduct audit of certain entity. The entity is a coaching institute which provides coaching classes to 11th and 12th board students. In that particular case, the students are supposed to buy books, and they people are carrying their registers, the notebooks to the teacher, and teacher just instructs them. So this particular entity, that is a coaching organization or the coaching institute or the teacher, they people are dealing in services. However, they are not dealing in any kind of inventory. There is no inventory at all at this particular client side. So in this particular case, there is no inventory. And if there is no inventory, the part in SA 501 which pertains to inventory is not applicable in this particular case, because inventory is not material at client side. I hope this example is quite clear. Now coming to another example. Okay. Example number 2, like there can be, I have just taken one example of the coaching classes. Now I'm taking one example of the lawyer's firm or the engineer's firm. You see what? Sometimes the civil engineers or, you know, government retired engineers, they people do constitute their consultancy firms. They provide consultancy to big construction houses as to how to build up a product and, you know, all the architecture related advices, etc. In that particular case also, what this particular engineering firm is providing, how they people are getting their revenue. So this particular engineering firm which is providing project consultancy, they people are dealing in consultancy. The type of revenue that they people are getting is not from sale of any kind of goods. They people are not dealing in bricks or cement, or they people are not building actually. They people are not building up any construction site. Rather, they are providing consultancies to construction houses. Yes, it could be true. So in this particular case, there is no inventory. So suppose in this particular case, Chartered Accountant Anant Kumar has been appointed to conduct audit of this particular engineering firm which is providing project consultancy to its clients. In this particular engineering firm, there is no inventory, and if there is no inventory, SA 501 portion which is relating to inventory is not applicable, you can say, or auditor need not follow all the procedures and need not take care about whatever is written about the inventories, because there are no inventories. Now, coming to another point. Suppose there is a publication house. Let's suppose there is Bestwood Publication Private Limited. Now, they people are dealing in books. What they people are selling? They people are selling books. Let's talk only about books. Let's not talk about classes on law, okay? Because there can be, different kind of products in which BPPL might be dealing in. However, let's concentrate only on books. Now, any kind of publication house, you see, you can have a number of publication houses in your mind. You can take any publication houses example. However, I'm taking one example of BPPL. Suppose Bestwood Publication Private Limited is there, and they people are dealing in books. What they are selling? They are selling books. Now, as on 31st March, whatever inventory they people are having, that yes, there is inventory. Why? Because they are dealing in goods. And what are the goods for this publication house? So goods are books. So are books material? Yes, obviously books are material for this kind of entity. Now suppose Chartered Accountant Anant Kumar, this is one imaginary name. Now suppose CA Anant Kumar has been appointed to conduct audit of the year X0, X1, to conduct audit of this particular audit of financial statements of publication house for this particular year. Now what happens is, you see, in this publication house's case, as on balance sheet date, books must have been valued in the books of accounts, in the financial statements, you can say, of the client, because client is publication house. Alright. Now in this particular case, suppose as on balance sheet date, that is 31st March, the client says, the publication house says that we have 1000 books as on balance sheet date. And now assuming, obviously, the market price would have been higher. Okay. Assuming the cost per book is, it could be any subject's book. Okay. Let's suppose the 1000 books they people are having as on 31st of March, and assuming they say that our cost comes to 400 rupees per book. So based upon whatever, you see, it could be accounting standard 2 which can be applicable, which is applicable on the client. It could be Indian accounting standard 2 which is applicable on the client. So basically, as per applicable FRF, again I'm speaking, we had already done this thing, okay. So as per applicable FRF, they have valued inventory in their books of accounts, that is 1000 books at the rate 400 rupees at cost, because it's cost or NRV, whichever is lower. So now what happens if quantity is wrong? Here you are. You have to understand why exactly SA 501 why exactly SA 501 was made? What was the need? Why the people are speaking a lot about, stock taking by inventories and attendance by auditor, etc., etc. Now, please tell me, think upon this thing. Okay, what if the quantity is wrong? Suppose they are not having 1000 books as at balance sheet date. Suppose they are having only 650 books in the stock, in the godown as at 31st March. Now, the valuation should have been made at 650 books at the rate 400 rupees per book. I hope you people are getting this thing. However, in this particular case, that is the cost part, 400 rupees. However, because they have not conducted stock taking, they have not counted the inventory as at balance sheet date. Let's suppose it is an imaginary example. So, what they say that yes, we have 1000 books in the books of accounts, and then in that case they simply multiplied 1000 books by 400 rupees. So there is huge difference in what is the valuation of inventory that has been shown in the books of accounts and what it should have been. What is actual, amount of inventory as at balance sheet date. So the valuation of inventory depends upon the counting of inventory. If the counting of inventory is wrong, now suppose they have missed out 200 books. No, there are not 1000 books. There are actually 1200 books. However, they have counted it wrong or they have not conducted a stock taking at all. In that case, they have just, on estimated basis, they have said, okay, 1000 books must have been there. So let's multiply 1000 books by 400 rupees, which is the cost. So in that case also, inventory, there is misstatement in the inventory valuation. Because actual books were 1200, however, they have recorded only 1000 books. Now, there is a point that if quantity is wrong, whether it is going to affect the valuation part. This is just one example. It could be a medical store. It could be medical store, it could be a car selling shop, it could be a car dealer. It could be a publication house like this. There could be a stationery shop. So it could be anything, you see. Now the thing is, if quantity is wrong, then valuation is bound to be wrong. And it is the auditor who is going to express his opinion on financial statements, on true and fair view of financial statements. Now please tell me in the reverse order. Auditor is going to check the valuation or not? Yes. So valuation can be misstated if the quantity the day people are showing in the books of accounts as at balance sheet date is not correct. So if quantity is not correct, the valuation is bound to be misstated. So auditor is going to express his opinion on the inventories. That means on this particular financial information which is appearing in the financial statements. Alright, now in this particular case, you please tell me, for examining whether valuation is correct or not, whether valuation is appropriately made or not, auditor needs to obtain evidences regarding what? Regarding existence of the inventory. First of all, the very important keyword over here is existence. You see, regarding existence of the inventory. What does that mean? Regarding existence, whether this much of inventory is actually existing as at balance sheet date or not. So basically here auditor is going to obtain evidences regarding existence. Now, going further, please tell me whose primary responsibility should be there to count the inventory or to conduct a stock taking. Can you tell me? To conduct stock taking or to conduct, or to count the inventory as at balance sheet date, it should be the primary responsibility of whom? Of management. That means management in TCWG. So whenever as at balance sheet date, because it is management's duty, right, to conduct stock taking. So when management is conducting the stock taking, when management is taking the stock, it is auditor who should go there, who should observe. You got it? We have already done this observation thing in SA 500, right? Who should observe, who should inspect the inventory to check the condition also. Ma'am, what is the meaning about the condition? What is the meaning about condition? Hope you people are getting this particular example. All right. Just these are the simple kind of examples as we are already doing, we are always doing in other standards on auditing, right? Now please tell me, so when the management is conducting the stock counting, so auditor should attend this particular stock counting, because there could be some inventory which is not in good condition. So basically, he should obtain evidence regarding two things. One is existence and one is condition. Ma'am, why it is so that existence and condition, they both are necessary? You see, existence meaning, yes, 1000 books are there in the stock. If management is conducting the counting of inventory, and if management is saying that 1000 books are there in the stock as in balance sheet date, it is the auditor who should go there on the date when inventory is being counted by the management. He should observe the stock taking conducted by the management to obtain sufficient and appropriate evidences that actually 1000 books do exist. Actually, inventory is of 1000 books as at balance sheet date. I hope that is correct. Now coming to other point. Now coming to another point. What about the condition thing? Now let's suppose out of, correct, 1000 books are there. Now let's suppose out of these 1000 books, 700 books are in good condition, very good conditions. However, 300 books are not in good condition. Suppose these 300 books have been perished due to some flood kind of thing, or maybe due to some kind of moisture in the air, or it could be due to anything, or it might have been bitten by the rat. Okay, so whatever is the reason, suppose auditor goes and check and sees and finds out that no, auditor finds out that no, these 300 books are not in right condition. Now please tell me, I'm asking you, whether the client should, these are not in good condition, all torn away, all books are perished, have been perished, all right, not in a good condition at all, not in a saleable condition, you can say, right? Now you please tell me, if the client is valuing these 700 books at the rate 400 rupees each, should the client value these 300 books also at the rate 400 rupees each, or no, these books are to be scrapped? It could be scrapped only at scrap value, you can say, and client is going to have only, say for example, 15 rupees per book depending upon the weight of the book. You see, suppose these scrap books, or this particular waste material, you can say, suppose it is sold in the market at not as per a book, right? It is sold in the market at 15 rupees per kg. Alright, in this particular case, these 300 books cannot be valued at 400 rupees per book. Rather, these should have been valued at the realizable value. I hope this particular point is quite okay with you people. right? So now auditor is actually concerned about two kind of things. Auditor is actually concerned about existence and condition. Because if the condition is not good, then it is going to affect the valuation of inventory in the books of accounts. So, to obtain sufficient and appropriate evidences regarding inventory, auditor should obtain evidences regarding existence and condition of the inventory. Because existence meaning number, how many numbers are there? So if the inventory is not existed as at balance sheet date, or suppose inventory is there but it is not in a good condition, this fact is going to affect the valuation of inventory in the books of accounts. So because auditor has to express his opinion on the whole set of financial statements, including balance sheet, and balance sheet includes inventory as well. The financial statements include inventory as well, obviously. Now I hope now you have got this point right. So there are two keywords. Auditor shall obtain sufficient and appropriate evidences regarding existence and condition of the inventory by attending, inventory counting or stock taking conducted by management. Because the existence and conditions do affect valuation in the balance sheet. I'm sure you need not write all these examples because we would be doing sufficient number of questions when I would be teaching you the text material. Rather, studying the text material will become very easy if you understand, if you are able to understand all these examples. So there is no need to write or to make notes about these examples. You see, if there is any need, from previous classes as well. I ask you people to make proper notes like we had already done, we had made number of examples. Okay, so there is no need actually. Now, I would make you people mark the important keywords in the book itself. Now, suppose there is one Z Limited. Z Limited is a very large jewelry wala limited. It could be Kalyan Ji Jewelry Wala Limited, Kalyan Jewelry Wala Limited, or any jewelry wala shop is there, or it could be any diamond merchant. All right. Now this Z Limited says to the auditor, the top level management, TCWG, or the person who is in charge of the inventory, they people tell the auditor that we have 500 pieces of diamond, pieces of diamond, you can say solitaire, in our stock. Now, there is a problem. Auditor is not having any knowledge about this particular item. Suppose management says to him that, sir, see, this is one solitaire, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is princess shape. This is round shape. This is, this shape. I don't know. This is a pear shaped diamond. So its valuation is a little bit lesser than the round shaped ones. And the quality of this particular solitaire is, this is triple excellent quality, GH color with no fluorescence, etc. Oh, come on. I don't know. I don't have knowledge. As auditor, I don't have knowledge about these kind of items, you see. I don't have any knowledge. Sometimes it could be the case that he can show me some zircon, or you can say artificial diamond. All right. I would say, oh yeah. And he says, sir, this is of 1.75 carats. And you say, oh wow, so good, so good. Okay, let's keep it. Now, you can have evidence about the existence. You can just, go there and observe the stock taking conducted by them. But you cannot ensure about the quality and the condition of these particular items. And the quality of these particular items is such that the quality itself, the condition itself, these factors are going to affect the valuation of diamonds. Diamond is inventory for him. Okay, he deals in diamonds, correct? Now, suppose he says, sir, see, this is GIA certified or this is IGI certified. How would I know about it? I know that there are laser marks, however, I'm not expert, I'm not having expertise in that. Right? Now in this case, it could be the case that management might be having a certificate from expert. We have already studied in very much detail. We had made a number of examples in SA 500. Now in that case, you can use the work of management's expert. You can use the work of management's expert in accordance with SA 500. So, you have to decide, you have to consider, you have to, see, just 1 minute. So, you have to consider what is the nature of inventory, you see. Everything is written in your book, don't worry. You have to consider what is the nature of inventory. You have to actually consider whether there is any assistance of expert. I would come to auditor's expert as well, because you might not be having any kind of expertise in this. So this is your book. Let's keep it away, and again coming to the examples. Now please tell me whether there can be such case or not. Yes, there can be such kind of case wherein you might not be able to have sufficient appropriate evidences regarding existence and condition just by attending and observing and reconciling the inventory records, because you kind of lack expertise in this particular item. You don't have any kind of knowledge about these particular items. So in that case, you might use the work of management's expert, or in any case, if you are not satisfied with the work of management expert, then you are not going to rely on management's expert to have an evidence which is sufficient and appropriate. Rather, you would use the work of auditor's expert in SA 620. So this is the same concept. You see, are you able to reconnect? Are you able to relate this particular example of SA 501 with that we had already done in SA 500? Alright, because there the expert is any person who possesses a special skill and a special knowledge in any field other than accounting and auditing. Right? Now, coming to another example. Now, please tell me, suppose there could be one case when suppose it is not possible for you to attend a stock counting at all. Ma'am, how come? Okay, I'm just taking one example. This example can be very easily be framed in the form of a case study. However, I'm just explaining to you people in a very simple terms. Suppose there is a vendor who deals in army uniforms. Okay. Now, there could be a case that the base godown of this particular vendor is in Delhi. They deal in army uniform, the army uniform which is specifically designed, those green colored, wherein the army people may hide themselves in case of any kind of attack, etc., in grass or greenery. So, the vendor's base godown is in Delhi. The vendor says that, okay, sir, I'll conduct my stock taking on 31st of March. Now, what happens is that auditor says, okay, you conduct stock taking, okay, you do stock taking, and I'll also come along with my team. I would observe the stock taking conducted by you, and side by side, I would observe so many things like internal controls, and I would check the inventory related records. Now, vendor says, but sir, out of the total inventory, 200 uniforms I had already sent at a location, at a godown which is there at the border. So, it is these particular uniforms, I deal in uniforms, in army uniforms. So, most of the inventory is kept at the base godown. However, some of the inventory, say for example 200 units are kept at the border, near China border, you can say. Now please tell me, is it really feasible for the auditor or the auditor's team to go all the way to a location which is near to China border and have evidences regarding existence and condition of 200 uniforms which are lying there? I don't think so. In this particular case, auditor might be unable to attend inventory counting. Are you able to understand this example or not? Yes, it could be the case. Yes, it could be the case. See, I should tell you one thing. Right now, I'm teaching you whole of Essay 501 for usual years. Do you know one thing? Year 1920 has been declared as an exceptional kind of year for so many reasons. Because due to COVID-19 situation, due to Corona situation, it was not possible for the auditor to go to many locations. As on 31st of March 2020, due to India-wide lockdown, so Institute has issued separate clarifications, separate guidelines, which are to be read in addition with Essay 501 for any exceptional year. So please, specifically, I would be teaching them separately. Alright, because they are not a part and parcel of Essay 501 for each and every year. Due to Corona situation, there can be some impact on this particular year, basically on going concern assumption, on inventory related procedures which auditor was supposed to carry out. So basically here I'm not taking any example wherein ICAI had issued separate guidelines for one particular year. So please, coming to the normal procedures which are there in Essay, which are very much there in the Essay 501. Suppose vendor deals in army uniform and most of the inventory is there at his base location, at his base godown. However, some of the inventory he had already sent to one godown which is there near the border area. Now it might not be possible for the auditor, it is not feasible for the auditor all the way to go to that particular location to attend and observe inventory. I hope you people are able to understand this example. So what should actually auditor do in this particular case? All these kind of questions are answered in this particular Essay 501. So I guess the base should be clear. If you need to take a short break after this understanding of base, you can just pause this screen. I'm teaching. Now coming to Essay 501. I hope now you can relate to so many examples. See, I have told you about this location thing as well, right? Though I'm not teaching you any specific portion, Abhi. However, we have already done so many examples, which can be so many case studies, so many scenarios, case study scenarios, which would help us in understanding the various provisions of this particular essay, right? Now, it says when inventory is material. So obviously, you need not carry out procedure to obtain sufficient and appropriate evidences regarding inventory when there is no inventory or when inventory is not material. For example, in the case of such a coaching institution, which I have told you, or in the case, I guess you got it right. Okay, or in the case of lawyers firm or engineers firm who provide project consultancies. Right? Next, he shall obtain. Who is he? Auditor. So auditor shall obtain, making it obligatory for him to do. This shall. word. Obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidences with respect to two things. I guess all these keywords are very much understandable now. Existence and condition. Because if inventory does exist, however, if the condition is not all right, then it is going to affect the valuation. Then it is going to affect the amount at which inventory is valued in the financial statements. Correct? Now, by attendance at physical inventory count, so it is the auditor who should go and attend and observe, listen, and observe management's count procedure, whether management, observing. We have already done this thing in SA 500, observing, whether management is counting correctly. Oh, whether the management has counted this particular lot of inventory correctly or not. So I'm just observing, I'm just witnessing whether they people are counting the inventory, they people are conducting the stock taking in appropriate manner, in proper manner or not. Now, I should inspect the inventory. Why should I inspect the inventory? To know about the condition of the inventory. Because if inventory is not in good condition, it should not be valued at cost. Rather, it should be valued at, realizable value if realizable value is much lesser. Now, he should perform test count. We have already done re-performance thing in SA 500. I hope you people are able to correlate it with that, with all those provisions, right? Perform test count. Okay, management, you have counted this particular lot. In this particular lot, you are saying that there are, say, for example, 250 uniforms are there. Okay, sir, would you please let my article perform recounting? Okay, article, please come and please recount it again. Now article again recounts the same. So there are 250 uniforms. Okay, that means, okay client, thank you so much. That means your counting procedures are alright. Right? So what you are doing? You are performing test counting on the counts which had been made by the client. Evaluate internal control. I know you might be knowing about it. You see what? Whenever inventory count or whenever stock taking is in progress, the client usually maintains internal control. Sometimes, some of the client, what do they do is, basically, they people stop trading. There can be a bookshop which halts all its trading, which is not buying the books or which is not selling the books or which is not selling the stationery or not buying the stationery as at 31st March. They say that this particular shop is closed today. What date is today? Today is, say, for example, 31st March. What they are going to say? The shop is closed. Why shop is closed? The shop is closed. The shop is closed because inventory counting is in progress. And suppose we are going to obtain fresh stock of inventory or we are going to sell the inventory, it is going to affect our counting procedures. So this is the kind of internal control. This is one example. Okay. So this is one example on internal control wherein client says, okay, we suspend our trading operation on the day when we do conduct stock taking. I hope this is quite okay. So what you are going to do, I hope now you are able to recall all these, keywords. When inventory is material, then auditor shall obtain sufficient and appropriate evidence, because this is 500 series basically which deals with audit evidences, and this part deals with inventories with respect to two items. One is existence and one is condition. Existence meaning whether there are really those many units in the stock as client is claiming, and condition, whether all the units are in good condition or not, because if they are not in good condition, then definitely inventory valuation must have been made at a much lower value. Okay, like maybe in case of perishable goods or when the goods are torn or something. Now attendance. By attendance at physical inventory count, you should evaluate the internal control where the client is maintaining proper internal control. Whenever stock taking is in progress, he should observe management count procedure, he should inspect the inventory to check the condition of the inventory. He should perform the test counts as well. So he should perform some sort of test count on lots of the inventory which had already been counted by the management, right? And he should examine entities' final inventory records. Final is stock ledgers, you can say, final is stores ledgers which the people used to maintain, and comparing them with actual count result. You might have done this in your CA foundation, I suppose. You might have made accounts like, FIFO or weighted average basis, that there is one column receipt, then issues, and then balances are there. So client is going to maintain, client actually maintains all those records, auditor examines those records. Okay, those were the receipts, those are the issues, and this is the balance. Whether this particular balance which is appearing in the inventory record is actually existing in reality or not. Alright, so please believe me, this is the introduction part of this particular essay, which tells us about all the general procedures that you are going to apply to obtain sufficient and appropriate evidences regarding inventories. You should be very clear about it. Okay, because it will, whenever any kind of case study is asked in the exams, you're going to start with the introduction thing, Essay 501, which deals with auditor's responsibilities to obtain sufficient appropriate evidences regarding inventories. It specifies the specific consideration for selected items including inventory. So as per Essay 501, when inventory is material, auditor shall obtain sufficient and appropriate evidence with respect to existence and condition of inventory by attendance at physical inventory count, wherein he shall evaluate internal control, he shall observe management count procedure, he should also conduct inspection of the inventory to determine the condition of the inventory, and he shall perform some test counting as well. Moreover, he should examine inventory final record, entities inventory final record, and he should compare them with the actual count result. So your introduction thing would be well drafted. I guess that is okay. Now, there are so many parts in this particular Essay 501. This is one question. I would do this question, please. You have to recall 5 examples in this. Then there is one condition, this, one is this, then one is this, and then one is this. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So coming to point number 1. Attendance at inventory count is impracticable. I'm taking number of examples to make you people understand that there is difference, among this situation and this situation when auditor is unable to attend, and this situation when inventory itself is counted other than balance sheet date by the management. So these are different kind of situations. You have to apply the case study scenario to understand what is the difference, Now, coming to this particular thing, attendance at inventory count is impracticable. What does that mean? The client is conducting inventory account. The client is, taking the inventories. However, it is not practicable for me. It is not practicable for me to go there and attend the inventories. Now, what is the example? I have just taken the example. I hope you people got it right. Ma'am, what was the example? Can you please again tell us? This is the example. Now, management says that, sir, in the godown which is near to the border, near to the Indian-China border, there are 200 units of uniform which are kept there. I say, okay, that's okay that you are saying that at the border 200 uniforms are still there with you people. Now, why don't you do one thing? You please provide a written representation to me regarding this. Client says, okay, sir, not a problem at all. I'm going to write it down and I'm going to provide WR to you. Now, please tell me, can you say WR is sufficient evidence with respect to inventory? No doubt you can go and observe the inventory which is kept at base godown in Delhi. However, you find yourself unable to go to the border place, okay, to go to the border, to the godown which is situated at the border. Now, please tell me, even if management provides you with a written representation, what we had studied in SA 580? You have to relate what we have studied. WR is substitute for other evidences. Can WR be regarded as a sufficient appropriate evidence at their own? No. So only WR may not be sufficient in this particular case. Now, what can I do? I should perform alternate procedures. See, remember, we had done these alternate procedures in the flow chart which we prepared, which we had made in SA 505 as well regarding external confirmation. When I used the example about D&D company and alternate procedure. Now here too. Can WR be called as sufficient as an evidence about 200 units of uniform which are held, which are kept at a godown which is near to the border? No, WR cannot be regarded as sufficient and appropriate at their own. It is just an additional evidence. It cannot be regarded as a substitute for other audit evidences. Now, because it is not practicable, so what could be the alternate procedures? Now you have to apply your professional judgment about the alternate procedures thing. What you can do? See, this particular vendor must have got all the uniforms stitched. You can see the records of stitching. All right. These might not have been, stitched at some roadside tailor, at some tailor shop. These might have been stitched in big stitching factories. So obviously you can see the production record. You can do reconciliation of those production record. You can say, stitching record in this case you can say. Then please tell me, by some means these uniforms, the packets of the uniforms must have been transported to the godown which is located at border. So obviously some transporter services or some courier services might have been used in this particular case. You can seek external confirmation from the transporter as to how many units the transporter had sent to. These might have been sent through the transporter, and transporter might have been outsourced. Right? You can have evidence from that particular transporter as to how many units he had transported to the godown located near to the border area. Okay. Now, what you can do? You can reconcile the production record, or suppose they have bought these uniforms from someone else, those purchases records with the inventories which are there at the base godown. Whatever inventory is not found at the base godown must have been sent there. So what you are doing? You are obtaining evidences from variety of sources, from different sources by different means, so as to obtain sufficient and appropriate evidences regarding the inventory kept at a godown where you find yourself to be unable to attend inventory counting conducted by the management. I hope this is pretty okay now. Now, sometimes there might be a case. You can say, see, nowadays we all know that so many stuffs can be done on a virtual, in a virtual meeting, you can say. You can say them, you can tell them, okay, why don't you do one thing? You do stock counting on Google Meet, on Zoom, on so many, there can be a number of platforms, on even WhatsApp video call. At least you can have some sort of, evidences. I know that digitized evidences are not that reliable as original evidences, as documents which are original. And same ways, if I go somewhere and I myself observe inventory counting conducted by the management, that would have been much reliable. However, even the virtual, if it is possible, however, if the client says, no sir, in that particular godown which is near to border area, internet signals are not working, we cannot do that. Okay, then what can we do? Alright, now still, if we are still unable to obtain evidences, there are no production record, the transporter is not traceable, reconciliation, you are not able to prepare, internet signals are not there at that particular location, then in that case you are still unable to obtain evidences regarding the inventory which is kept at that particular godown, where you are unable to go and attain the inventory counting. Now what you are going to do? We have already done this thing. You see, when I taught you all about the types of opinions, I hope you are able to reconnect. What kind of opinion? Ultimately, qualified or disclaimer. When you are, this is just one portion of standard on auditing which we have done. You see here, this is just one meaning inventory is one particular case. Which case it was? So it was only this case. Still, we have to do a lot of cases. I hope this particular portion is quite okay. So attendance at inventory count is impracticable. The client is conducting stock taking. The client is counting the inventory. However, it is not feasible. It is not practicable for us to go and to attain the inventory count. There can be another case as well. You see what? Sometimes it is a case that the client deals in industrial gases. They say, oh, so many cylinders are there, sir, in this per cubic meter, this much of gases are there, and you see, all these are there. Now, how can you conduct stock? How can you attend and, observe the stock taking conducted by management? You are not going to check, oh, per cubic meter, you are saying this much of industrial gases there, and it could be valued at this. No. You don't have any kind of understanding about whatever. They might say, okay, sir, there is ethylene or methylene or ethane or methane or nitrogen dioxide, NO2 or nitrous oxide, N2 or whatever. I don't have any knowledge about them. These are the simple gases I told you about. However, there can be industrial gases. Now, what are the alternate procedure? Because here also, you may find it impracticable. You might be unable. No, you cannot. So basically, it is impracticable. So you can perform alternate procedure in this particular case, the example that I have taken. Even when attendance at inventory count is impracticable. You see, you remember that jewelry wala example? Those diamond pieces are there, those solitaires are there of different sizes, of different quality, color, make, etc. Of certified from different certifying facilities. In that case, what would be the alternate procedure? You can evaluate the work of management's expert, and if you are not satisfied with the work of management expert, in that case you may like to use the work of auditor's expert as per SA 620. So in any case, you cannot just rely on WR. You cannot just rely on written representation, because as per SA 580, WR is only additional evidence. Don't worry, please don't worry. We will do a proper presentation and everything, you see. in these kind of question answers and case studies later on after the class. I mean, after understanding this text material. So I hope this particular part is quite okay. Okay. Now coming to another case. This is attendance and inventory count is impracticable. I'm writing down. The management is counting the inventory. Management is counting the inventory. However, the auditor, it's not practicable for auditor to go there. Auditor cannot. Either auditor lacks knowledge in that particular thing, or it is not possible to reach that location at any time. He cannot go to that particular location due to whatever reason at any time. See, I'm stressing on this particular point. He cannot at all go to that particular location. He is not having any kind of knowledge about those jewelry or those solitaires by whatever means. Okay. Now, because it is going to affect the examples on these 2 points. Now, what does they say? Coming to my second example, inventory counting conducted at date other than balance sheet date. See, there is huge difference between point number 2 and point number 3 as well. Okay, in point number 2, it is the management who decides that no, I am not conducting stock taking on balance sheet date. Ma'am, why it is so? The management says, see, I have already told you that corona year I'm putting aside. Okay, specifically I won't take any example in making you people understand this basic thing, because for corona year, that is for 1920, all about inventory counting and all, which were applicable only on that particular year, 1920, which were applicable only on 1920. Those are separate guidelines by ICAI. I generally take up those separate guidelines only when those are applicable by ICAI in separate class. Okay, because that is one exceptional year. You cannot generalize the things. So specifically, no example there, just simple example. When I'm making this kind of example, please don't ever assume this particular example which I'm taking relates to 1920. No, it doesn't relate to 1920. Okay, what happens is, management says, sir, 29th of March is Thursday, say for example, and that is Ram Navami. Okay, then he says, sir, for example, I have told you that I'm keeping this particular space empty. Then he says, sir, 30th March is Friday and that is a Good Friday. Okay, that is a holiday. Then he says, sir, 31st, though my shop would be open for business purpose, however, 31st March is Saturday, then 1st of April is Sunday, and then 2nd of April is Eid. Let's assume. Now he says that due to this long holiday, long weekend or long holiday, I have very less of this stuff with me. Even I'm not available. So what I'm doing is, I'm going to conduct my stock taking on 3rd of April. I'm going to count my inventory on 3rd April. When you discuss with the client says, sir, I'm going to conduct stock taking on 3rd of April. You say then, why 3rd of April? Because your shop is open for business. He says, sir, I have very less of this stuff, during these particular days. Stuff is not there. You say, okay, no props. As per SA 501, I am expected to attend inventory counting being conducted by you only. Whatever date you decide. Now, suppose as on 3rd of April, suppose they people deal in furniture, okay, they people deal in furniture, say for example in Delhi, Kirti Nagar. Now, the client says so, and what you do is, okay, done. Now, the client deals in particular kind of chairs. Okay, office chairs, like this kind of office chair. Now the thing is, on 3rd April, they conduct inventory counting. You go there, you attend the same, and you have obtained evidences that yes, the inventory is, say for example, 700 chairs. Let's suppose. Now, but in the balance sheet, the inventory as at balance sheet date is going to be valued. Now in this particular case, you have to perform procedures on intervening transactions. Ma'am, what is the meaning of intervening transaction? You have to obtain evidences with respect to the stock movement on these 2 dates. Because suppose during these 2 dates, you people might have understood it by now. Because suppose during these 2 days, 100 units were sold. Alright, then in that case, you are going to add 100 in order to reach the inventory units as at balance sheet date. These are the intervening transactions, and vice versa would be the case with the purchases or the goods received. Are you able to correlate with this? Okay, so suppose in any case the management counts the inventory at any date which is, it is management's option, you see. In this particular case, management says that no sir, I'm not going to conduct inventory counting, inventory stock taking, you can say, as at balance sheet date. Rather, I would be counting. My staff would be there, I would be counting the inventory as at 3rd of April. Okay, you are going to go there. See, I'm telling you why I'm making different examples for each and every scenario. Because suppose the question comes on this particular scenario and you write down that particular example, impracticable thing. In impracticable, it was not practicable at all for you to go there and observe inventory counting by whatsoever means. Okay, however, here the management is counting the inventory. The management is conducting stock taking at a date other than balance sheet date, and you can very well go there. Now he shall perform additional procedure between count date. Can you tell me the count date in this particular case? The count date is 3rd of April and the balance sheet date. So you can say the changes in inventory, the stock movement, you can say the intervening transaction, because whatever sales have been made on 1st April and 2nd April, those sales, whatever goods have been moved out of the shop, those goods should have been added to the stock as at 3rd of April in order to arrive at the quantity of chairs as at 31st March. I hope this much is quite okay with you people. Okay, and vice versa is the case with the purchases, you see. Suppose some goods have been bought during these 2 days, then in that case you are going to subtract the same from these 700 units in order to arrive at the inventory which was there as at balance sheet date. I hope this is quite okay, pretty sure. Okay, so in point number 2, I have marked it as point number 2 because this is a different scenario, this is a different case. You can go there. Okay, on the date on which inventory is counted, is being counted by the management. Ma'am, someone may ask, ma'am, please tell us, can management decide to conduct inventory counting even before balance sheet date? Can management decide that, okay, long weekend is coming, let's do one thing, that is another thing, let's do one thing, count the inventory as at 28th of March. Yes, it could be the case. Then you are going to observe the inventory counting, you are going to observe the stock taking conducted by management, you are going to test count, everything is being done on 28th March, then in that case, you have to apply procedures in changes in inventory between 28th March and the balance sheet date in order to obtain evidences, in order to arrive at the inventories as at balance sheet date. Yes, it could be any date which is other than balance sheet date. Management may decide to conduct counting of inventory, to conduct stock taking before or after, depending upon what is the scenario. So now even point number 2 is pretty clear. And what is the difference between this point number 2 and point number 1? In point number 1, it was not at all practicable for you to go there and attend on whatsoever date. However, in point number 2, it is a management. It is a management who decides to conduct inventory counting at a date which is other than balance sheet, and it is very much feasible for you to go there and attend, and apply all these procedures on the date that day people are telling. Now coming to third number point. What is the difference between this third? See, why I'm making so many cases? As usual, of course, I do make in all the standards. Why it is so? Because in any case, our ICAI expects you people to write down only the specific provisions which are applicable on the particular case study which is there in the exam. So you cannot just mix up with the provisions, alright? So that is why it is really necessary. It is really necessary to differentiate between, all these points. Now, coming to this thing. Okay. Here. It says, auditor unable to attend inventory count due to unforeseen circumstances. It is the auditor who cannot go. The management is counting the inventory. The management is conducting stock taking as a balance sheet date, but there are certain unforeseen circumstances, something which could not be predicted, unpredicted situation, due to which auditor finds himself unable to go there and attend the same. What is the thing? Now, see, you are able to understand now that the language of this point number 3 is very much different, entirely different from point number 2, and point number 1 was entirely different than these 2 points, correct? Now, auditor unable to attend inventory count due to unforeseen situation. Beforehand, people decide, okay, inventory count would be conducted on 31st of March, and auditor says, okay, my team would be there at your site. Now, the client is ready to conduct inventory counting, stock taking. However, auditor is not able to attend. What happens? Suddenly, it could be due to earthquake, it could be due to some sort of flood, it could be something related to, something major related to auditor's own health. It could be that due to some, due to some reason, border of 2 states is sealed. Might be the reason. There could be any kind of disturbances. You see, in India, we people used to witness communal riots at so many places. We cannot say anything. We cannot do anything sometimes. So, suppose auditor's office is in Delhi, auditor resides in Delhi, his staff is in Delhi, and the client's godown is in Gurugram, you can say, or Gurgaon, you can say. So, Gurugram or Gurgaon is near to this particular place, near to Delhi. I can take example of, Bombay and Nasik, say for example. Okay, so auditor's staff is there in Mumbai and the client's godown is in Nasik. Now, auditor finds himself unable to reach to Nasik district due to whatsoever reason. There could be some riots, there could be some, due to some sort of earthquake, some sort of any kind of issues, any kind of flood in between, the traffic jams could be there, something major mishappening with the auditor's family could be there due to whatsoever. Now auditor says, no, client, I'm not able to come and attend. However, you may please continue with the same. Now, what does client do? So client keeps on counting the inventory. Now auditor says, okay, as on 31st March, I was not able to come and attend. As per your counting, as per your WR, inventory was, say for example, 1000 units. Now you please do one thing. Please conduct some sort of inventory counting, because I am asking you to do the same. Please conduct some sort of inventory counting as at, say for example, when the situation is normal. Let's suppose on 5th of April, I would be able to come. I know that you had already conducted stock taking as at 31st March, and as per your counting, inventory came out to be 1000 units. However, now the problem, that unforeseen situation has been is now appropriately all right. Everything is in law and order now. So now I can come. Would you please do one thing? Auditor, calls the client on 3rd of April and says, would you please do one thing? Please again repeat this inventory counting as at 5th of April. Now, what would happen? It is a client's duty to cooperate with the auditor. Now, there could be two kind of things. The client may say, okay, sir, that's okay. I'm again counting for your satisfaction so that you can obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidences regarding my inventory. Or client may say, no sir, it's not possible for me now. So now, please, I hope you got it right. Here, the client had already conducted stock taking. It was auditor who was unable to attend inventory count due to unforeseen circumstances, due to some sort of natural calamity or some disturbances in law or order whatsoever. I hope that is quite okay. So now the difference is pretty okay, right? Point number 2, it was management who decided to conduct inventory counting on some other date. In point number 3, management conducted inventory counting as at balance sheet date. It was due to some unforeseen circumstances, unforeseen condition, unpredicted case, due to some natural calamity or due to something which was beyond the control of the auditor, that auditor actually could not go to attend this inventory counting being conducted by the management as at balance sheet date. Now, what should be the procedure? Listen, I know this place was empty just so that I could write down. I hope you can see this particular flow chart in the inventory section in your book. Okay, now listen. When inventory is material, you should observe, inspect and evaluate. I'm on that point only, but now I'm teaching with the help of the flow chart. When auditor is unable to attain the inventory count due to unforeseen circumstances, alright? If it is not possible due to unforeseen circumstances. Now, what is the meaning of unforeseen circumstances? It could be natural calamity or whatsoever. Right? He shall request management to perform count on some alternate date. In my case, alternate date is 5th of April. Okay, now I can come. You please, as per my request, please conduct some sort of count. Suppose you are having 3 godowns. Let's conduct stock counting in 1 godown. Okay, on 5th of April. If management accepts his request, then he shall attend, observe and consider intervening transaction. Now, what are intervening transaction? Suppose alternate date is 5th of April, as I have already told you in that particular case study which I was taking up. In this case, if management accepts the same, okay, then you will go, attend, observe on 5th of April and consider intervening transaction. Now, what would be intervening transaction? Both the dates inclusive. the transaction which occurred from 1st of April to 4th of April. Both the dates inclusive. Okay. And conclude whether management is right or not. So, whatever sales were made from 1st April to 4th of April, he is going to add on. I guess that is pretty okay, right? And or you see, vice versa sort of thing. Then he shall conclude whether management is right. If management is right, then yes, he has obtained sufficient and appropriate evidences. However, if management is not right, that means management's counting of inventory as at 31st March happened to be wrong. In that case, he is going to express either a qualified or adverse opinion if the inventory is appearing at wrong amount due to wrong counting by management as at balance sheet date. Now, please tell me, are you able to relate that situation with this particular flowchart? And if management refuses, if management says, no sir, I'm not going to again perform counting of inventory or stock taking as at 5th of April because you want me to do so. In that case, they are imposing limitation on the scope of my work. In that case, you remember, for every kind of limitation on a scope which management is imposing on you, you are going to perform, you are going to adopt the procedures, or you are going to deal with this particular situation in accordance with SA 705. We had already made this point clear in SA 505 external confirmation as well. Remember? So this is the same sort of situation. However, this is with regard to inventories. Now, please, you cannot mix these 3 points in the exams. You cannot just mix up. You see, every mark in exam counts. If the case study comes for 4 mark or 5 mark or whatsoever, and you end up in writing now, he is asking you that auditor is unable to attend due to unforeseen circumstances, unpredictable, some sort of natural calamity, some sort of, problem in law and order. And you write down in your answer these kind of points, attendance and inventory count is impracticable. He is not going to award you good marks. It could be you may fetch 1 mark or so just for writing down the basics. So you should be very particular as to if he is writing the word impracticable, or if he is asking me that auditor was unable due to unforeseen circumstances, however, management already conducted the same. In that case, auditor requests the management to conduct some sort of inventory counting on some alternate date, and in that particular case, it is the auditor who should go there on that alternate date, on some different date, and conduct procedures on intervening transactions, and accordingly he should express opinion. I guess that is quite okay. Now, 1, 2, 3. Now the last case study based scenario, that is 4th situation. Inventory under control of a third party. Ma'am, who can be the third party? Okay, listen. Sometimes it happens that goods are in transit. Sometimes it may happen that client has imported certain goods. Client has actually imported certain goods, and those particular goods are kept with the port authorities. Sometimes it may happen that client is not having a good go down. The client has kept its goods, its inventory with those who provide warehousing facilities. Sometimes it may happen that certain goods, maybe with respect to non-perishable goods like jewelry items, something, or imported watches, etc., that certain goods are kept with the creditor or with a banker as a security. Okay, so in those particular case, that means there can be a situation that inventory is under control of a third party. This third party can be a transporter, it can be a warehouse, it can be, it can be port authorities, customs authorities, you can say. It can be that client has outsourced. It can be the situation, there can be a situation that client has outsourced the safekeeping of his inventory with some third party, and that third party is called as service organization, like you say BPOs, business process outsourcing. Okay, so basically their function of holding the inventories might have been outsourced by the client itself. Now what happens? So if inventory is under control of third party, again come to the chart please. If inventory is under control of third party, for example agent, you might have done question and accounts on consignment, consignor and consignee. So even if the goods are kept with the agent, the goods would appear, the inventory would appear in the company's balance sheet. Agent, transporter, custom authorities, warehouses, bankers against loan, service organization. Please, this service organization thing I'm not going to do right now, okay? Because this SA 402 totally deals with service organizations. Alright? Now, so in that case, auditor shall obtain WR. Suppose client says, sir, this much of goods are in transit. So auditor can say, okay, first of all, you can provide me with a WR, written representation specifying the goods which are in transit, which are with the transporter. However, SA 580 says that only WR are not sufficient. Only written representation cannot be relied upon. So in that case, auditor shall need to obtain sufficient and appropriate evidences by applying different procedures from different sources, right? Third party confirmation, he can check invoices, bills, warehouse receipts. Suppose in the case of imports, there is bill of entry, bill of lading, there is bill of entry, etc. Even with the transporter, etc., GST challans can be checked. SA 402, not for today at least, okay? And subsequent receipt. Ma'am, what is the meaning of subsequent receipt? I'm telling you. So all these, by performing all these procedures as far as applicable, you can obtain sufficient and appropriate evidences regarding inventories held by third parties as at balance sheet date. What is subsequent receipt? Suppose goods are with the transporter. Okay, goods are in transit. Someday goods will reach the client's godown. Suppose goods are in transit. Suppose goods are coming from, say for example, Nagpur to Mumbai. And you are based in Mumbai. You are auditor, you are based in Mumbai. Your client is in Mumbai itself. And the goods are coming from Nagpur to Mumbai on 31st of March. Someday they will reach Mumbai. Suppose the client says that, sir, on truck, say for example, 400 units of inventory are coming. Now, on Sunday, suppose inventory reaches them on 2nd of April. You are not going to complete your audit as at 31st March. Obviously, everybody knows that. You take your own time in completing the procedures and expressing the audit opinion. So in that case, you can always go on 2nd April and say, oh yes, this much of goods are received in the godown. Okay, then in that case, you can observe that thing. So if there is subsequent receipt, from the warehouse or from the transporter or from the port authorities or the customs authority, subsequent receipt, but before expressing your audit opinion, you can have evidences regarding subsequent receipt, whether those much of units as told by the auditor as at balance sheet date, that those units were with the third party, whether those units actually being received by the client after the balance sheet date or not, if you can, if any. If you are satisfied, if you are able to obtain these evidences, then okay. What is the meaning of okay over here? That means you have obtained sufficient and appropriate audit evidences. However, if you are not able to obtain evidences even after performing all the procedures, you are not able to obtain these kind of evidences, and you are not satisfied with the inventories which was told to be held by third parties as at balance sheet date, what you are going to do? You are not satisfied with only WRs. What I have told you, what we have done in the modified and unmodified opinion. In the case of inability, you are going to express either a qualified or a disclaimer of opinion. I hope you got it right now. So even this, flow charts, this right hand side, it will help you in answering. Now, coming to one case study, you please tell me on which point this case study is based upon. Coming to the following situation. I have already told you about the presentation. First of all, you are going to write down about the standard, then you are going to relate it with the present case study, and in a standard you are going to write down the relevant portion of the standard which is applicable in this particular case study based scenario, right? And last but not the least, you are going to conclude your answer. Conclusion in this case would be like whether he had obtained sufficient and appropriate evidences or what kind of opinion he is going to express. All right. Auditor of AA's Limited was unable to confirm the existence and valuation of imported goods lying with a transporter. Okay. Which situation you are going to apply? Which portion of essay you are going to write down in this? Whether the practicable case? No. Whether inventory counting conducted at other than balance sheet date? No. Whether auditor was unable due to unforeseen situation? No, it's not unforeseen, but it is inventory under control of a third party. I hope you would be able to apply. I would be doing, integrated case study based MCQ. Then your knowledge would be tested actually. Whether you are able to apply so many standards when a particular kind of question is being asked in the exams or not. So I guess you can very well write it down with only, and accepted a certificate from the management without obtaining other audit evidences. So obtaining the certificate from management, meaning thereby I have to write down about SA 580 as well. Isn't it so? Right? Okay. So I guess even this is quite okay. So in this case, he can easily verify with the bills, records, confirmation from transporter. He should not have relied only on the management certificate. Thus, he has not obtained sufficient and appropriate evidences. Okay. Now, see, this is really important. Needless to say, that is why we have to. And you see what? This is totally case study based. Why there is need to make so many examples? Because different example will be, made for a different scenario, and these all are different scenarios, right? Now, coming to this thing, matter relevant in planning attendance at physical inventory count. Now, what are the matters? Ma'am, actually this is the starting portion of essay. However, you are taking up this portion, a starting portion of essay about the inventory thing. However, you are taking this portion after teaching us all the scenario. Why it is so? Because now you have done all the cases. You would be able to understand each and every word of it with examples. Now, matters relevant in planning. So, please do it at the end when you are done with the examples, at least to a significant extent. Now, what are the matters in planning attendance? You're now planning, so at what time I'm going to attend the physical inventory counting procedure being conducted by management, whether I can actually go there or not. So you are not planning. Actually, this planning procedure, this particular planning takes place before actual conduct of the procedure, because before actual conducting all these things, before actually obtaining all these things. However, now you would be able to understand. Now in this case, this is altogether a different thing. You see, they are not going to ask you to write down all the procedures or inventory. Rather, they are going to ask a question on a particular point of inventory. Okay, so nature of inventory. Why nature of inventory? Because sometimes nature of inventory can be could be that You don't have any kind of knowledge about that inventory. For example, in the case of the solitaire or industrial gases. So first of all, you should consider what is the nature of the inventory that client is dealing in, and then you may properly plan out when and how you can go there to attend and observe. ROMS, risk of material misstatement relating to inventory. Some sort of inventory is such that there are high risk of material misstatements. Ma'am, how come? When something is related with the quality thing, say for example, in the case of diamonds you can say, or in the case of gold you can say, there is high risk of material misstatement relating to inventory. They can show you a fake diamond, they can show you American diamond or something, and they can value it at the proper, at the certified diamonds rate, but you won't be able to understand about it. So there may be certain kind of inventories wherein ROM is high, when it is really difficult to judge the valuation, to judge the condition, to judge the existence and the condition of the inventory. If it is the case, then in that case you may plan work using work of management expert or auditor's expert. Now, stage of completion of work in progress. For that, again, you may need to obtain a certificate from management's expert, and if you are not able to rely on management's expert, then in that case from your expert. Sometimes it is the case that you have been appointed as auditor of a construction house. For them, inventory is the flats in which they people are dealing in. They people deal in, multi-story building, the flat system. That case also, you might not be able to find out the stage of completion. The timing of physical inventory counting, because there might be a case that they are not conducting inventory counting or stock taking as at 31st of March. Suppose they themselves are carrying out inventory counting as at, say for example, 2nd of April. In that case, you are going to attend inventory counting on 2nd April only. We have done the example, there was a long weekend. Next, internal control relating to inventory, whether there are internal control or not. If internal controls are very much in place, if internal control has been designed and these have been operating effectively throughout the year relating to inventory, then in that case, you may perform less extended procedures. However, if internal controls are not there relating to inventory, then you may need to perform extended procedures regarding inventory. Normal rule. Next, whether the entity maintains a perpetual inventory system. You might have done it in costing. In intermediate costing inventory chapter, I guess, this perpetual, continuous and periodical. So it depends. Few of the clients, what they people do, they don't actually rely on just periodical inventory counting, on just at balance sheet date. They people throughout the year carry out inventory counting. In that case, it depends. You can go throughout the year, on a sample basis. And the location in which inventory is held, including the materiality of inventory and ROM at different location. You see, we have already done the border wala example. Alright. Next, whether the assistance of auditor expert is needed. Yes, auditor's expert might be needed. If auditor lacks expertise, auditor lacks knowledge in the kind of the inventory in which client is dealing with. So basically, these are the factors which actually auditor should consider in advance so as to plan what are the procedures that he is going to undertake regarding the inventory thing. So I guess we have done things in this particular topic. See, rest of the things on this inventory thing, I want to, cover up the next topic now, that is identification of litigation and claim, and why this particular identification of litigation and claim was actually made in this particular case. So basically, rest of the MCQs, case study based MCQs, I will be covering up later on.